St George Illawarra, after precious little footy over the last 12 months for many of these men, and then not a lot over the off-season, quite obviously, as we concentrate on fitness and training. I wonder what sort of standard we should expect in this first trial of the new season.
Well, I reckon we're going to see a fair few errors. I mentioned how hot and humid it was. We were down there on the sideline. I'm sure that both sides will try and play a little bit of footy. I'm expecting, as with the new rules, as we saw last year with the up-tempo, with the 6 agains, I reckon we're going to see the game evolve to be even faster now.
Some big news today affecting both these clubs, with Cam McInnes, the Dragons' back-to-back reigning player of the year, rupturing his anterior cruciate ligament, his ACL. He's gone for the season. Horrible news for the Dragons. Horrible news for anyone involved in rugby league. Of course, it was to be his last season at St George Illawarra before linking with the Sharks. So if you put his horrible news aside, all of a sudden there are some middle forwards at the Dragons who will see more opportunities open up for them. Well, not that they're thinking of that today.
Well, it makes these games even more important too. You've got to put your hand up. There's a position now. I feel so sorry for him. Their best player, as you mentioned, over the last couple of years. Tough as teak.
Underway in your first trial of 2021, and it's the Dragons. First use of the footy through Cade Ellis, one of those middle forwards who all of a sudden sees the door of opportunity open with that injury to Cam McInnes. Now Jackson Ford. It just happened in a very run-of-the-mill tackling drill for McInnes. Just off the line quickly, and the knee went, as is so often the case. Such an innocuous movement, and he's gone for the season. Our thoughts with you, Cam. And now the completion of the first set, and the kick from Jaden Sullivan will find the grass at the southern end of Shark Park. Scooped up at the back, and Cronulla will look to get through their set like St George Illawarra did.
Well, that was a nice set there from the St George Illawarra side, just working the ball, one off the ruck, just warming themselves into the game. A couple of good runs, some good front on defence there from the Sharks. But the kicking game, Jaden Sutherland, I'm looking forward to seeing his kicking game. The first one finds the ground.
Yeah, some good defence early on. The tackle a moment ago led by Daniel Alvaro, former Parramatta and Warriors lone player, linking with St George Illawarra. There he is, involved again. A good set so far from the Sharks as they explore on their left-hand edge. $15 metres into Dragons territory. At the last tackle, this time the kick comes. Jack A. Williams, with a couple of Jack Williams at Cronulla. Fielded safely by Tyrell Sloan.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit earlier about the size of the St George Illawarra pack up against this Sharky side. I don't know if it's the white jumpers, but gee, they look like they're monstering over the top of them.
Is Braden Williami, 34 NRL games, dating back to 2013 when he arrived at Parramatta. On to Manly for a couple of seasons, Catalan Dragons, and now in his second year at St George Illawarra as the visitors. They get the first penalty of the game.
It was a good run there by Tarek Sims on the left-hand side of the field there. He bumped out of a couple of tackles, but it was dangerous in the end. Goulias being called out now for the Sharks. This will be the first penalty for the Dragons. They'll just, for the first time, go into the territory now. I reckon they'll kick deep downfield. On report too. So it's a dangerous tackle. I think it was made by Pele there, the number 8.
Franklin Pele, all 190 centimetres blocker and about 130 kgs. Interestingly, Franklin came back from the Christmas break 10 kgs lighter than he left.
Gee, that's a first. You generally get the turkey and the stuffing and everything into you over the off-season. But anyway, good on him.
The Sharks didn't miss that off-season performance from Franklin Pele, and maybe a little enthusiastic, trying to make an early statement in this game.
Well, it shows how much it means to him, doesn't it? If you go away in an off-season, you can come back 10 kilos lighter. Well done.
On the inside ball, it's a hole for Sloan. Sloan towards the corner, reaching out. He beats Luke Metcalf, and Tyrell Sloan gets the first try of the trial.
Yeah, you'd be a little bit worried if you're the Sharkies' defence there. The first penalty, they march downfield, the inside pass, and Sloan gets the try at the end. But some tricky play. Always in these sort of conditions, you're sort of overrun. Let's have a look at the ball back on the inside here. It's beautiful play there. They've got a wrap on this kid, Jaden Sullivan. He's the man that gets the ball back on the inside. Just got a couple of defenders interested. And Sloan, once he was in the clear, Here it is again. Just watch the way he just steps back on the inside. Beautiful play. Well skilled. And Sloane does the rest.
Ian Millwood said that he is your classic development player. There will be some development required for Tyrell Sloane, but having played in the New South Wales under-18s and under-20s, clearly there's some class about the youngster, the Dapto Junior, part of the 2019 Steelers SG Ball Premiership team, of which there are 8 players in this Dragons lineup out of that 2019 success story.
You know the thing I like about halfbacks, that I can watch the real good ones that I like seeing coming through, they dance in the Valley of Death. They actually go to the line. Now that time you're seeing Sutherland there, back off his left foot, sets up the try.
And from the sideline, flags are up. Quality start to this one. A penalty, the only problem for either side so far. It came from Cronulla, inviting that attacking opportunity from the man on screen, Jaden Sullivan, who lays on the try for Tyrell Sloane and then converts from the sideline. 6-0, St George Illawarra.
Well, it's a good focal point there for the halfback. Knows that, they're a little bit slow just to close the gate there. You've got to get numbers at the half there. Onto a much quicker man in Sloane, who scored the try, but there was no real scramble there from the Sharks on the back of one penalty. And that's what they dish up in defence.
So the restart, 5 minutes into this trial. We'll play roughly in quarters with a drink break around the 20-minute mark. And the Sharks back at PointsBet Stadium for this trial, but of course they'll play the majority of the season out of Netstrata Stadium at Jubilee at Cogra. A game on the Sunshine Coast as well. Out of dummy half quickly, Wishart taking good territory, still going, fending his way. Tyron Wishart support inside. Quality from the Dragons, finished by Jaden Sullivan. But Tyron Wishart doing the name proud, bursting out of dummy half, gapping the defence, showing speed and linking with his support player.
Well, they've got to do something in their middle, haven't they? The Sharks just very slow to close the gate, but it was a good run from Wishart. I mentioned before the power in the legs. The markers not square, a little bit slow off the ground, shows great strength to break a couple of tackles, but this is Sutherland again, just backing up, back on the inside, perfectly timed pass. Shows a clean pair of heels, back-to-back tries to the Dragons. Just have a look how slow they are off the ground. We're talking about how quick the game is now. That's the first indicator for a dummy half to run. When there's a dead Marine on the ground, up you get and away you go. Well played.
A classic case of chip off the old block. I know he wears 9 and Dad was a winger, but very similar. Tyron Wishart, Rod Wishart. And it's been great to bump into Rod at Wynn Stadium or Cogra over recent years there to watch his son come through the grades. Tyron on this train and trial set up at St George Illawarra.
You can only do what you can do. There's the kick, the conversion, it goes straight over. You put your hand up, you can show that you've got that ability to be able to run from dummy half like that. That was a tremendous run, powerful.
Plenty of cheering from the Cronin pub at Gerringong with Tyron Wishart in the starting pack. Jackson Ford, another from Gerringong. Tarek Sims, beautiful part of the world blocker.
I was down there only a few weeks ago too with one of my great mates.
One of your 25 investment properties down there, Stephen.
Turn it up,
Come
mate.
on.
I'm looking at the dates off the calendar, you know that.
A good start for St George Illawarra, and here is Cade Ellis.
See, that was what I was talking about with all the new rules and that. If you can hang on to the ball and complete your sets and you get a couple of penalties and then you score a couple of back-to-back tries, there's the drop ball.
Jackson Ford, the offender. So an opportunity for Cronulla to slow this momentum from St George Illawarra as Sims came up, the shoulder loaded, made good contact on Daniel Vasquez. Pele bumps away from Sims and Ford. Tricky customer, Franklin Pele. The man mountain up front for Cronulla. 2018 Australian schoolboy. Here's Billy Magoulias. Hasn't he provided some memorable moments in seasons past? A couple standing out with Newtown in their premiership run. To the left side, numbers created and a soft finish. Cronulla go in Nene McDonald answers 2 tries for the Dragons by the first for Cronulla.
Yeah, well, that's all off the back of an error after back-to-back tries from the Saints. They lost the ball about 25 metres out from their line, but that's soft. The Dragons have got to get off their line. I reckon the message will go out. You've got to get off the line and put pressure on the ball players. Now, Nene McDonald is an experienced campaigner. Just have a look at his timing here. The ball out the back, catch and pass. The opposite winger caught in field a little bit. You don't give opportunities to blokes like Nene McDonald. He'll score every time in that sort of situation.
Jack Williams did well, and then this work from the centre, Hiroti, to go to McDonald. 26 years of age, Nene McDonald, blocker, but what about the clubs he's played NRL out? A couple of seasons at the Roosters, onto the Gold Coast, 2 at St George Illawarra, then to North Queensland. Now he's second at Cronulla.
I think he's a class player. We just mentioned, just all about that timing and the ability. What you got to do in those sort of situations, you've got to put pressure on the ball players. They had far too much time there. The Saints, after scoring back-to-back tries, might have got a little bit of ahead of themselves there. It only took one opportunity for them to score. Now the Sharks, they're back in it.
The Papua New Guinean international, Nene McDonald, scoring for Cronulla, and the man who threw the last pass, Wene Hiroti, from the sideline. To make it a converted try, the difference. He drags it to the left, 12-4 in favour of St George Illawarra.
Well, the big thing is too, Matty, is that you have a look on the back of that penalty a little bit earlier, and then they scored back-to-back tries. The Saints, they were starved for possession. That's a good sign there from the Sharks. They fix up their defence. They showed when they get in that attacking zone that they can score, so they're back in it. They get the football back now.
So a penalty from Cronulla gifted momentum to the Dragons, then a mistake from St George Illawarra sees it swing back in favour of Cronulla. All year with a faster game, we are going to hear coaches saying possession is key. Possession is more important than ever.
Well, sometimes we try to overcomplicate things too. The game's been exactly the same since 1908. You need to complete. The sides that can complete the most generally come out on top.
Having seen an old magic sponge out there before, the game has had a few changes over the years, Stephen.
Thank goodness. I see a lot of blokes with no teeth sucking on those sponges.
So Cronulla through Magulius. A decent set after points. They scraped into the top 8 last season, 10 wins, 10 losses. Never really found the momentum they were after as they complete with a kick towards the corner, a good one that lands in the face of Tyrell Sloan. So Jack Williams doing some nice work in the Sharks number 6 jersey.
He was in a little bit of two minds there. He did well there, Tyrell Sloan, not to go for that footy. It was pretty close to the sideline. They'll get the turnover now. Straight away back. The Saints have got the ball. They've got to complete here. Very important set, this one. The last time they had the football, they lost it on the 20-metre line. So pretty important set. Although they scored the first 2 tries, they've got to complete right now.
Yeah, the Sharks looking for some defensive pressure here. Can they force a mistake in nearly the identical situation that saw them score a moment ago? The Dragons just beyond their 20. Couple of tackles down, middle of the ground. Jaden Hunt on in jumper 18 for the Dragons. Here's Alvaro twisting his way, taking important metres, still 10 shy of halfway. And Sullivan sees some room and says, I'll take it. Going along the ground, down to Luke Metcalf, who came through the Sharks system, went to Manly, and has come back to Cronulla. Coffs Harbour product, the custodian at Cronulla in this game.
Well, no, it's only, a lot of people think it's only a little thing. That kick chase there from the Dragons was excellent. They're leading quite comfortably on the scoreboard at the moment. You start to drop off all those little things when you're leading 12-4, so good play there from the Saints.
And here's a chance for Cronulla. Bursting through the defensive line, it's Metcalf. He started the set and he plays an important role there. An exciting young 21-year-old fullback. Vasquez.
I like Vasquez too. He just keeps coming, doesn't he? Good play the ball there.
Made his NRL debut last season, blocker. Here's Franklin Pele. So they're 2 starting props rolling the sleeves up deep in enemy territory. 15 out. And the Dragons leading the trial 2 tries to 1. 6 minutes from the first break. Tipped on by Metcalf. And it will be a clean-up effort, allowing the defenders to get through. And St George Illawarra can stabilise here. Final play. Now the kick from Trindle, picked up beautifully. On the move. St George Illawarra hold on there and will look to build a good set now.
Yeah, they read it beautifully at the back too. That's a very important play there. To clean up the ball there, attack it.
Matt Feagai it was, blocker. He and twin brother Max in the Dragons back line.
There's Max there with a good run. Gee, it's important to have big outside backs. Just get in and roll their sleeves up in their own end of the field.
Max Feagai playing rounds 19 and 20 last season. He's only 2 NRL games so far. Now Sullivan. He's looked really confident in this one so far. The kicking game promising.
Gee, he can play. His kicking game's been excellent. I know he scored that try under the post off Wishart.
And now it's put down by Cronulla.
Here we
on
go.
Top of their own line. Pick up and score. That's the case. And doing so for St George Illawarra, Jaden Hunt.
Well, I don't know what really happened there. We'll have to have a look at the replay. It's Nene McDonald that makes the mistake there for the Sharks at the back. Just looks like he was trying to carry the football forward. As I said, they've monstered him pretty well in defence. Another loose ball and scooped up. Here's McDonald trying to run the ball. Oh, just had a bit of a Bo Peep there. And scooped up. He won't get an easier try than that. Chalker it was, Luke Chalker, that gets a try. It's only the halfback running at you there. What are you doing? Be thinking running over the top of him.
Yeah, Jaden Hunt picking up the loose ball put down by Nene McDonald. And here's a classic case of that time-honoured expression over the off-season, training the house down. How many times do you hear that? Well, speaking with Ian Millwood yesterday, he told me how the coaching staff at St George Illawarra had been impressed with his Brisbane product, Jaden Hunt. Fantastic in the pre-season, on a train and trial contract at the Dragons.
Well, he didn't have to do too much there, Matty, but it was good too. And an experienced player like that, man, McDonald making an error. And he looked up and Jaden Sullivan was the only bloke in front of him. Looks like he just tried to step around. He would have been better off just tucking the ball under his arm and trying to run over the top of him. Only a little halfback there. They make another error. Fatigue starting to set in. Another mistake there from the Sharks. And the Saints pounce on it. 18-4 it'll be. He'll throw this one over.
Sullivan,
he's missed.
what? Stephen?
I'd have kicked that.
We are about 17 minutes into the new season, and that's how long it has taken for the commentator's curse.
Wow.
Jaden Sullivan. Despite that, I don't think he'll be shaping up to you, Stephen. That would be a fight that wouldn't be sanctioned anywhere. Speaking of fights, the All-Star Fight Night on this evening in Townsville.
Ooh, I can't wait to see a few of those big boys go banging in.
Mainevent.com.au if you're interested in watching those fights. Interested to see Josh Papali go around against Ben Hannant.
Well, Ben Hannant apparently hasn't laced on a glove. How much tick has he got?
Ben, what have you done?
I mean, all the talk's about Papali. I haven't seen him fight yet.
I think he can throw him.
I think he might be able to. But you never know until they do it. What about Ricky Stewart said, don't come home if you get beat.
Here's Kate Ellis on to Alvaro. 7 seasons at Parramatta, including a lone stint at the Warriors. 95 NRL games under the belt for Daniel Alvaro.
And he's worked well in this game too in the first quarter. Just gone about it. Tradesman-like effort so far from Alvaro. I reckon it's a good signing for them.
The conductor, Sullivan, puts it in the air across to catch it safely and find support. Cronulla do well.
Just those little things there. See that? First down on the kick. He's done a number of hit-ups early in this game. Chases, closes the gate. Does a lot of the little things, Alvaro, that you don't probably notice.
Some good work a tackle ago by Cale Iro, son of Kevin. You can also ask Uncle Tony for a bit of advice. Good to see.
They could play the Iro brothers.
Yeah, young Cale. Still flag eligible. Played a bit of under-20s at the Warriors. Now Magulius. Up the middle. One of a number of players in the back of the mind for John Morris regarding round one. Trindle goes high blocker.
I just get the sense of the Sharkies, when they've got the football, they they run a bit one out. There's no one pushing around the ball. It looks like they're all waiting for the next play. Whereas the Saints, you watch, there's always numbers running with each other. That's how they've scored a couple of their tries. Numbers at the line. Just takes the pressure off the ball runner.
Matt Figo with another nice involvement there. Yet to make his NRL debut. It's put down by the try scorer in Jaden Hunt. He's still thinking back to a moment ago.
See, that's what happens when you start to sort of mix it up a little bit. That was a face pass there. Just cut out the first runner. And that's when the mistakes start to set in. They've made a couple of errors in their own half, haven't they, in this first 20? Just inviting the Sharks back in.
And the Sharks will start the season probably without Royce Hunt and Sifa Talakai with patella and shoulder injuries respectively. So for the likes of Billy Magoulias, Teague Wilton, there is opportunity there. And this man Metcalf, hard to get a hold of, almost linking middle of the field.
Well, this is where you need your halves to take control. As you said, for the Sharkies, the 5'8 Williams has played pretty well. His kicking game's been good, but I want to see him just take that line on a little bit.
Franklin Pele with another nice run to set them up. Williams doubling back in front of the uprights. And Jack Williams wrapped up. Only a few metres out. Poor play the ball, and he'll receive a penalty for it. The referee, Todd Smith, deeming that there was involvement in the play of the ball that saw the ball come out illegally. But it wasn't young Williams doing. Vasquez. He sounds like he should be on the fight card tonight, Blocker.
Yeah, good name, isn't it?
Close to the line. Kyle Patterson in the dummy half position. He's gone short and flat. Now it's long with a bit more depth for Williams. On he goes. Trindle across the field. Still they explore on the right. Metcalf. Cut out ball. And it's well read. Iro taking the tackle. Trindle. Magoulias shows it once and elects to use the big man. Franklin Pele. 12 metres out. St George Illawarra's defence holding for the time being. Trindle floating it over the top. Beautiful for Iro. Kale Iro. He scores Cronulla's second try. 3 tries to 2, 12 points to 8. Kick to come for the home team.
Well, they've showed when they get down here, they can score. There's no worries about that there from the Shark. He's just got to tighten up their defence in the middle of the ruck. That's Trindle going to the line. I've seen him play a number of times for the Sharks. A little bit of first-grade experience. Sums it up beautifully. Second man play. Just sees a little bit of ball watching there. Straight over the top to Iro. And goes over unopposed. Good game so far in the first 20. Here it is again, the second man play. Trindle just looks over the top. Very passive in defence there that time, the Dragons. The 2 tries that the Sharks have been able to score, so they haven't got off their line and put pressure on. Been very passive off their line, the Saints. That just invites tries like that.
Did you run into Kevin or Tony Iro?
Played against both of them. They were great players, yeah. They played a lot of internationals for the Kiwis back in the day.
Great to see Tony giving so much back to the Warriors for so long.
They could run the ball, I can tell you that.
And we're thinking of the Warriors as they set up camp in Australia again. This COVID curse ever in the background, as we've seen today in Melbourne, having an effect on the All-Stars game. We are led to believe as the conversion attempt goes across the face. So it's 12-8. We'll take the first break of the game. I said quarters, very roughly used in this case, 22.5 minutes in. But Cronulla, they fought back to make it 4 points the difference. And Braden Trindle setting up that second try for the Sharks, Blocker. He was part of this rotating door at the Sharks scrum base last season. I spoke to John Morris about it yesterday. 9 halves pairings used by Cronulla last season, and Sean Johnson will miss about the first 6 to 8 weeks, so you wonder what way he will go. Chad Townsend is there. Then you've got all sorts of possibilities outside that, depending on what happens to the fullback role as well.
And they swapped him around a little bit too, Trindle, last season. He played a little bit of 5/8 too when Johnson was injured, so he's got a fair bit of experience in first grade. Braden Trindle, we just showed there his experience, just being able to sum up the opportunity quite quickly there. As I said, Iro went over unopposed just straight away there. That's a bad sign for the Saints. They brushed out to a good lead. They started well. The Sharkies coming back into it.
And those men on screen, Anthony Griffin, their new coach, Peter Gentle and Matthew Elliott, their assistants also in the setup, Matt Head, Sean Timmins, a couple of well-known St George Illawarra names. But very much a new look set up at the Dragons. And speaking to Ryan Webb, hasn't the CEO had plenty to deal with since he arrived 10 months ago, just before COVID. They've had some headlines, good, bad and indifferent, and today with Cam McInnes going down blocker, it is unbelievable news for a club to lose their back-to-back reigning player of the year for the season.
And especially he would have been trying to give his all this season too, and because he's moving on to the Sharks next year, which I was surprised actually that the Dragons allowed him to leave. But anyway, generally the good players or the great players generally get tied up for long-term contracts there. I was very surprised, as you said, being their best player in the last couple of years. I'll tell you what, for the Sharks, but in that first 20 minutes, Luke Metcalf, the fullback, attacks the football very strongly. He's got a good pass. He can link very well. I've been very impressed with him.
As are the Sharks. And Cam McInnes, just a little insight in the sort of bloke we're talking about here, as word filtered around Rugby League today that he'd done his knee for the season, the phone calls started flooding in and everyone was having a go at Cam for saying sorry. He apologised to everyone. Well, sorry. No, we're sorry for you, Cam.
Yeah, you put so much into it. I mean, they're going to miss him. There's no doubt about that. And, he would have been their best player again. He's that type of bloke. Great leader.
Good return here from the kickoff, and it was one of the newcomers to the Sharks set up in Gabe Hamlin, who spent time at Souths, went to Wigan where ran into a bit of controversy, copped the drugs ban, but has emerged from that. And he's here to make a statement at St George Illawarra, or at Cronulla, I should say. Good run. All the players keen to impress. That was Tom Hazelton. Hazelton from Goulburn and spotted by Gav Miller. Famous Cronulla name right there. Long-running captain of the club. Trindle gets the kick away. After the drinks break, it floats down to Tyrell Sloan. It took some catching. He made it look easy.
I'm just having a look at a few of the Saints forwards. Now, they've made a number of changes at that quarter time. The Sharkies look full of running here, a good kick downfield, but it's taken 3 or 4 of their forwards to get behind the ball. And there's another error.
Good to see Monty Raper on there in jumper 14 as well. It was actually Monty who took the kickoff return. My apologies. Gabe is waiting for his time. But you won't miss Monty Porter. Here he is, Monty Raper. I've let it slip. He's bred in the purple, using racing parlance to describe a rugby league player. The grandson of Monty Porter and Johnny Raper. You get Monty Raper.
Yeah, you won't get any better than that. That's a thoroughbred, isn't it?
Both members of St George Dragons record premiership run, and then Monty went to become the foundation captain of the Sharks. Their player of the year medal named after him. Running into the hole beautifully. What a line to score the try. Teague Wilton.
Well, that's great running, but you can put it down to the Saints' errors. The 3 tries that the Sharks have scored, it all come from the Saints carrying the ball off their own line. Just too many mistakes. The start of this second quarter, they've made the mistake again, but look at this. This is called hole running. And Ty Wilton gets straight through. Some good footwork there. Just brushes out of a couple of ordinary attempts at tackle there. And that's a good time to score too. Straight into that second quarter. Again, it's the hands of Metcalf coming in to make the extra man. The soft hands. The Sharkies are over. They're starting to look confident now.
He made his debut against St George Illawarra, his NRL debut at Cogra last year. 5 NRL games through 2020. Into his second year of NRL. The nephew of the coach, John Morris, Teague Wilton, putting his hand up for some early NRL time.
I don't know if that's
in 2021.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is that a leg up or?
You'd have to ask him. I suspect you're spot on. As Trindle steers this one through. The Sharks down by 2, 16-14, St George Illawarra.
This is when fatigue starts to set in. As I mentioned, The Sharks made a couple of changes there at quarter time. It looks like that the Saints have left the same players out there, so they'll need to lift.
Off the long run up again.
Good run.
Hazelton. Gav Miller sitting back saying, I told you so. That's why I spotted him.
I don't reckon
in
Gav,
my neck of the woods. Goulburn.
He's a hard man, Gav. Don't worry about that. I don't think he'd be giving out raps too easily.
So since their premiership year in 2016, Cronulla have been to the finals every year, and they find some room on the eastern side of the ground and mess it up with a mistake. But yeah, from premiers to 5th, 4th, 7th, and last season 8th with a 10-win, 10-loss record. Famously, they didn't beat a top 8 team last season. How have you got them shaping for 2021, Blocker, in or outside your top 8?
Oh, I think they'll be just there and abouts. I don't think they'll be in the 8, but they'll upset a fair few sides down here at Cronulla at Shark Park. I don't think that they'll be there, and I don't know about the Saints neither. A new coach, I suppose. There was a lot of familiarity there over the last fair few years there down there at the Saints. Hooks come in now, and I'm sure that you'll see, probably a much more disciplined side. The discipline let them down a lot last season, but I don't think either of these two sides will make the 8, but I'm sure that they'll be competitive.
Kade Ellis carrying the ball and hoping to play a role in carrying the Dragons back to the finals, where they haven't been since 2018. They were 7th that year. Last season 12th. 7 wins, 13 defeats. Nice line again. This time the opposition edge forward for St George Illawarra. It was Jackson Ford. Now Alvaro setting himself up for an offload. Monty Raper says no. Wishart at dummy half. His pass wayward, scooped up by Sullivan, and he succumbs. 10 metres out. Hunting their 4th try, the Dragons. They explore to the right, the kick into the in-goal, well weighted. Nene McDonald is forced dead, and the Dragons force the first goal line dropout.
Yeah, have a look at that. Although he made that mistake a little bit earlier, already scored a try at Nene McDonald, but the experience there, just to have a look infield and watch the kick come through. Just being alert at the right time. Just have a look at him face in here, straight away. Turns, cleans up at the back there for the Sharks.
It was a good kick by Talatau Amone, the 5'8", and here's some room to wind up. Josh Corrick, told to expect about half an hour, and now it's put down. Big Eddie Blacker.
Geez, they made some errors, the Saints. I reckon that's 5 drop balls that they've had.
Raper tries to get the leg drive going. We must remind viewers it is a warm day in the Shire at kickoff, up above 30 degrees, muggy as well. A lot of these players getting precious little footy since, well, really, March last year, with the lower tiers cancelled.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? You can train all you like. There's nothing like game day. You've got to come out and compete.
The sliding defence from St George Illawarra, keeping Cronulla at bay there. And it was in the dangerous hands of Luke Metcalf, who has stood out in this game. Jaden Sullivan doing likewise for St George Illawarra. Now Magoulias flat for Raper, who lost his footing. Big head fake from Billy Magoulias, playing like a 5'8". Here's Williams. A chip of sorts, and it lands in the lap of Tyrell Sloan. He scored the first try of the evening. This is the first trial of 2021, and now a penalty to St George Illawarra.
Not a bad penalty to get to when you're 2 metres off your own line. You're under the pump. You get the penalty, be able to kick for touch. They'll end up probably about 20 metres upfield anyway, or 15 anyway. So watch them bridge up now, the Sharkies. Let's see how enthusiastic they are in defence. Try and force the error again.
There will be a few of these emerging player trials in the lead up to the 2021 Premiership kickoff. When I say emerging player, that's the generalisation. Of course, there are some established stars who had injuries and suspensions keeping them below 12 games last season. But all the regular first graders, so 12 games or more is the way they've been classified, get just the one trial this season.
Yeah, I suppose when you're training now and you do a lot of opposed against each other, that's where a lot of injuries happen too. Like blokes go 100 miles an hour now, so I probably agree with the one trial now. If I was coaching, I'd probably only want that.
Speaking to the clubs and some of the players, they took a different approach. They would have liked to be able to run, for example, Connor Tracy in this game, Cronulla. And I know the Dragons felt the same way about a couple of their players. The kick for Nene McDonald to retreat, to drop, and now to clean up in his own in goal. And again, the Dragons get a result from a kick.
Yeah, they didn't give up on the chase there that time, the Dragons. Nene McDonald at the back again, right on the goal line. It was perfectly weighted kick. He drops it, the chase continues. Now they force the line drop out for the Sharks. They've got to take that now. The Saints will get the football back. And again, see that? Didn't give up on the kick, just keep going.
The kick from Talatau Amoni, well placed. And he gets the result courtesy of the McDonald error. Nene's coming up with a couple of them so far in this game. Winding up again, Josh Corrick. They haven't led at any stage, St George Illawarra. Sorry, they've led since the first try, St George Illawarra. Cronulla with 2 points, the difference now. Closing. Sullivan, his pass, well tackled. Ford was through. It was a good stop by the Cronulla Sharks. Inside the 10, Jaden Hunt. Now another kick from Amoni. Chasing hard. Corrick tried to get there. And Corrick did get there.
He did well too. No fullback at home there that time. The little grubber kick in and behind. I love when we've got players that can think of those sort of things. This time it was the 5'8" Junior Amone. Just have a look. He looks inside. Look at him over chase. The grubber kick back in. And you won't get an easier one than that.
Josh Corrick chasing hard. And this man on screen now, his kicking game since that drinks break really shining. Talatau Amone. Getting some results with goal line dropouts and then kicking there on the attack.
We just put it down at Nene McDonald not cleaning up that high ball at the back there. Just lost the footy, got tackled in goal, forced the line drop out. The Saints are good enough to score again.
So Amone kicking well, and this man, Jaden Sullivan, doing so from the outset. Made his debut round 20 last year against Melbourne. Very highly regarded, not just at St George Illawarra, but I must say throughout the greater Illawarra region. And good to see so many of the club's established stars here to applaud. Have you seen enough to have a view on whether this man's ready for more NRL early in 2020, Blocker?
I think you've got to be careful. Look, potentially, down the track, this guy's going to be a good halfback. There's no doubt about that. He's got a wonderful presence about him. He can go to the line. He's got a beautiful kicking game, nice short passing game, but I'd still be just a little bit hesitant. Maybe wait half a season. Give him a run if you can't make the 8 and all that sort of stuff, and give him a little bit of a taste of it. I think potentially he's going to be the number 10, but he's going to be there for a long, long time. Going to be their halfback. He's going to be there for a long, long time once he does get a sniff. Don't think I'd be throwing him in too quick.
22-14 St George Illawarra. What a return from the kickoff, but he's gone into touch. A little too enthusiastic. It was Eddie Blacker making some good metres and leaving a couple of Sharks in his path, but then just tried to peel off a little bit too much.
Yeah, Jack Williams it was that you try to take him front on, the big man. He just got a nice don't argue in the throat or on the chin. Just tried to do a little bit too much that time. And again, another error from the Saints. They'll get the football back now, the Sharkies. I've been impressed with the big number 15, Hazelton. I see them with a lot more football now, the Sharks. He's a big man too, big, tall, strapping young fella. So I've been very impressed with him since he's come on. He only just come on in this second quarter here.
So a bit of care and attention being given to Jack Williams, local product here at Cronulla. His granddad, the late, great Reg Gasnier. And good to see Jack back to his feet straight away and seemingly right to continue. We've been chatting about Jaden Sullivan's chances of playing NRL early in the season. Well, to start the season, these teams are head-to-head. The last game of round 1, Sunday, 6:15. You'll see at Fox League, Netstrata Stadium at Kogarah. St George Illawarra against Cronulla. Don't envy the teams playing last on the opening weekend. It's a long, long wait. We're seeing kick-off on Thursday night to get your turn Sunday night. Here's Trindle. Cronulla on the attack. Magulius inside the 10. Four tries to 3. And now Trindle gets away from Sullivan. There to clean up. And it's Jaden Hunt for St George Illawarra. Here's your man, Hazelton blocker. He drops the ball. A let off for the Dragons.
Yeah, some good front on defence. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, that the Saints had to tighten up through that middle. At the time it was a good tackle front on. There's his first error in the big time from Hazelton. He'll learn from that. He'll roll the sleeves up. I'm interested to see how he goes now after he's made that mistake. Once they get the football back, how he goes then. Try and make up for it.
We're watching the next set. For the time being, it's the Dragons working play out of their 20-metre zone. We've talked about Cronulla last season and your thoughts for 2021. Dragons, well, they lost their first 4 last campaign. Never really got going after that. Back-to-back wins 3 times. That was their best streak. Really poor red zone attack. What are your hopes for them in 2021?
Yeah, again, they'll be a little bit by the shark, like the Sharks. They'll cause some upsets, but losing your best player just on the stroke of there's another error there from dummy half. Fatigue starting to set in. You lose your best player at the start of the season, it does a lot for your confidence.
Young Connor Mulheisen also wearing 9, the same jumper worn by Tyron Wishart earlier in the game. But it's Mulheisen in that dummy half role for the time being.
Well, the bad news for the Saints is every time they've made an error coming off their own line, the Sharks have had the ability to score, so it'll be a big plus if they can hang on here.
7 tries in the first half, 3 and a bit minutes left. It's the Dragons by 8 in this trial for players who didn't appear in 12 NRL games last season. Magulius again, running off Kyle Patterson.
Done a good job on Magulius, although, there's no one really following him through. The 3 out at him in defence.
The kick off, Metcalf sits up and a fortuitous bounce there for Cronulla. Metcalf to Magulius. He rolls it off his hand for Raper. They open up both sides of the field. Patterson says, we'll go left, please. Trindle takes them on. And he's well received by Mulheisen. Again, Teague Wilton. Cut down just short.
Got good footwork, hasn't he? Coming off that left foot again, Wilton. 1
try already for Wilton. He was looking for the double. Now Williams, a little juggle. And good treatment there from Feagai. In fact, it's Jaden Sullivan. Giving Caleb Milne no room. The kick, well taken by St George Illawarra. 10 metres out from their own line.
Well, that was a big test for them too, wasn't it? To hang on to that set of 6. Try and get the football back. They've been able to do that, the Saints. It's the first time in this game they've been able. There's another error.
Sean Saunier dropping the ball. I touched a moment ago on these trials that will come your way on KO and NRL.com over the next couple of weeks. On Thursday, we're off to see Parramatta against St George Illawarra, that one at Kogarah.
Just want to see the urgency here from the Sharks. It's just bang on just about half time. You think you'd rush to that scrum and put something on straight away. Got that opportunity just before half time.
One of the rules is that players can't break from the scrum until told to do so by the referee in 2021. Now Magulius, here's Hazelton, able to wind up, backing into the defence and finishing his run a couple of metres out. Patterson, called by Trindle, who receives the ball. Goes second man for Metcalf. Over the top. Nene McDonald gets his second of the game.
Well, he's been their best player, hasn't he? Luke Metcalf comes in to make the extra man again. It's been the right defence here of the Saints in this first half. It's been a little bit brittle. Metcalf summed it up pretty quickly, comes in, the second man play. He's got time. They rushed him. The pass over the top. Didn't panic. Nene McDonald goes in for number 2. Just have a look how he just got comfort. You can see good players. Just beats him with the foot, doesn't panic. Passes the ball over the top, perfectly timed. The Sharks scored first in the second half. And at the back end of this second part of the second quarter. So they've got themselves right back in it. Important kick here from Trindle.
22-18. Again, Trindle sizes it up from the sideline. Nene McDonald, the try scorer, hoping to pressure the likes of Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mulatalo for a wing position as the season unfolds. Trindle from the western sideline has it on track, keeps it on track, and converts the McDonald try. At the end of the first 40, it is 4 tries each. St George Illawarra 22, Cronulla 20. Wherever you are watching via KO and NRL.com, welcome to PointsBet Stadium. Second half about to unfold between St George Illawarra and the Cronulla Sharks. Open to players who appeared in fewer than 12 NRL games last year. Matt Russell in commentary alongside Stephen Blockeroach, Balmain, New South Wales Kangaroos great blocker. We saw some highlights in the first half mixed in with, as you'd expect, some rust from players who haven't seen a lot of action over the last 12 months, but in hot and humid conditions they're about to get some relief with some rain inbound.
Yeah, I did like what I saw from both sides in that first half. As you mentioned, you know, it's very easy to sit up here in the commentary box and talk about drop balls and all those sort of stuff when you're in these sort of humid conditions. So a lot of loose ball, but the attacking games from both sides. I've been very impressed with Metcalf at the back there for the Sharkies side, you know, along with Braden Trindle. But for the Dragons, I think they've done well. Sloane scored the first try, but Jaden Sullivan, now, there's going to be talk about whether this bloke is ready for first grade. I think he'd handle if they put him up there. Just hope they don't do it too quick, but he was absolutely outstanding. Handling the ball 3 and 4 times in each set, so watch for him in the second half. He's a very good player.
Tyrell Sloane with a kick-off for St George Illawarra, down to Nene McDonald, who finished with a first half double. Kale Iro, Teague Wilton, the other scorers for Cronulla, and the 4 tries by the Dragons to Sloane, Jaden Sullivan, Jaden Hunt and Josh Corrick. So 4 tries each in the first 40. The Sharks running with a squad of 22. The Dragons 27 on a tough day for St George Illawarra. As we mentioned in the first half, their back-to-back reigning player of the year, Cam McInnes, gone for the season with an ACL injury. This morning at training, an innocuous defensive drill. Our thoughts with Cam McInnes, and all of a sudden the Dragons with a big hole to fill in 2021. So opportunity for players out there to impress in that middle forward position. McInnes earmarked to play 13 middle forward for most of the season, an 80-minute player. And here's Braden Williami for the Dragons.
And a great leader too, there's no doubt about that. As you mentioned a couple of times, back-to-back player of the year. So, you know, be a confidence downgrader, I would say, for a lot of the Saints players. I suppose the difference in this game too, I just watched the first kick of the second half there from the Sharkies. A kicking game from Saints with this man kicking the ball downfield now has been a lot better. He's found the ground every time, Sullivan.
A nice variety of kicks too from Sullivan. Assessing the situation each time, reaching into the kit bag, and in the first 40 producing the right kick more often than not. He did most of the kicking early, and then it went over to his halves partner, Talatau Amone. But for the time being, it's St George Illawarra defending. Kyle Patterson goes towards the middle of the ground. McDonald off his wing looking for action. And now Hazelton with an eye-catching performance in the first 40. More go-ahead meters after contact there. Trindle puts it in the air, bringing Sloane forward for St George Illawarra, and he gets away from the leading defender, but can't take any territory, and he's tackled 8 metres out.
We'll see what it does for the kicking game too, as you mentioned. Hazelton again with another strong charge. Quick play the ball, the kick downfield. They're on the front foot. That was a lot better there from the Sharks.
We've had the chance to see one of St George Illawarra's recruits for 2021 in this game, Daniel Alvaro. Of course, Jack Bird returning to his home city to play with St George Illawarra again, alongside the Roosters' Powasa Famosili. So they're the big recruits for the Dragons since last season.
I wonder, with the injury to their number 1 player, whether they'll put Jack Bird in at lock.
It's definitely an option. His utility value becoming more important as the Dragons complete here with a kick down between the men at the back. Metcalf across. In fact, it's picked up at the back by the 17 in Cade Dykes, famous name at Cronulla.
Looks like they might have seen enough of Metcalf, have they? Or is he still out there? Yeah, he's still out there. Yeah, just to the left of the screen.
This is Wilton, a try scorer, along with Kale Iro, and that double from McDonald. Here's Caleb Milne, or Gabe Hamlin it is. And Hamlin is tackled but receives a penalty.
And there it is late in the tackle count too. So that is a nice little piggyback downfield now.
He was eye-catching at training, this man, Gabe Hamlin, Penrith born, played with Souths. Part of the Newtown setup at the moment. He's part-time at Cronulla.
There's another lifting tackle. That's 2 tackles here that have been put on report.
Gabe Hamlin went to Wigan, copped a drugs ban. That is now expired, so he's back to make amends and make good as a Cronulla Shark, or Newtown Jet initially. Gabe Hamlin. Trindle, supported by Hamlin, who was the decoy runner through Metcalf on to Milne. Caleb Milne spending time in the Storm system.
Yeah, Milne just overrun that pass there again. I think the type of bloke that Metcalf is, you've got to give him a little bit of time. He forced the ball there with a forward pass. So he'll get the football back here. They've played nice to start this second half with some good runs again. I know we've mentioned him a few times. The 15 in Hazelton, but he straightens the Sharks up. He's been really good since he's come on.
Before we leave that McInnes story too far behind, I was speaking to Ryan Webb, their CEO, prior to kickoff, and obviously he was devastated by the news, but there is room in their roster, there is room in their salary cap, should, as the dust settles, they want to hit the market again and buy another middle forward. Those stories to be followed in the days to come, no doubt.
I just hope they don't buy for the sake of buying. Sometimes you've got to sit back and wait for a real good one to come on the market if you've got enough money, that is. Just buy just to fill. There'll be enough kids here that you could put in and give them a little bit of experience. A few blokes have got their experience last year in forward and those sort of guys, so I think they've got a bit of depth.
Monet just dumping it off for Charlie Runciman out there now in jumper 4. It was Max Feagai in the 4 through the first half. Now Runciman. And again, Monet. Talatau Monet up, bouncing around, back to his feet, taking more metres. So both he and Jaden Sullivan, the 6 and 7 for St George Illawarra, tidy so far through this game. Sloane to the line and then finding Matthew Del Blanco. Sullivan to Monet. Inside the 10, he's a slippery customer, almost pulling through the defenders. Now the kick, Sullivan didn't get it as he would like, it bounces up, ricochets, he can't clean it up.
Yeah, sometimes you got to sit back and not try and do too much. I mean, what he's done has been excellent, but this time, a little grubber kick in, he looks like he was going to get the football back. Tried to scoop it up. Got wonderful skills. They'll get the football back here, right in the middle of the park. Let's have a look at their formation now. Now the Saints will attack. Looks like they're coming down this left-hand side. They've stacked it.
They elect to open both sides of the field. You're right. 4 men parked on the left, 5. Pretty obvious what way they're coming. Here's Sullivan to the line, sitting it up, and Del Blanco puts it down. First tackle. A frustrating mistake for St George Illawarra.
Well, can you believe that off the scrum base? She's just errors like that. They've made far too many errors, haven't they, the Saints? They look classy when they've got the ball and they get down there. They show that they can score, but if they could complete a lot better, the scoreboard would start ticking over and looking after itself. It's kept them in the game, the Sharks.
Dykes wasn't given much room, and this is a better run by McDonald to open up some opportunity to get on the front foot. Herotti to play the ball. Still 12 short of halfway.
I've seen 1-6 again now. I've been watching a lot of, I know it's fatigue starting to set in, and a lot of laying in and around the play the ball. The referee's got to call these. He's got to get used to it.
After Iro's run, they spread through Metcalf. His flat pass received and offloaded by Wilton onto Milne. Caleb Milne. So the Sharks 25 metres out. Monty Raper wants the ball and gets it. Catch and pass. On it goes for a break here, straight up the middle. Gabe Hamlin offloads, and in to score his try, Braden Trindle.
There might have been a question mark over one of the passes here. It was very flat and fast. The Sharks full of running. They've had a bit of a play here to start in the second half. They've marched right downfield. Here's the short pass that I was talking about from Trindle. Oh, gee, I reckon that one might have been just touch and go. Just supports back on the inside. Could have scored himself there. Trindle goes over for the Sharks.
Gabe Hamlin must owe Trindle a bet. He's just settled. He could have scored. He only had to fall over.
He would have fell over the line. Does it count?
So Gabe Hamlin back in Australia, back in this NRL setup after time with South Sydney. He's part of a pretty tidy team, and he plays a nice role there to set up Braden Trindle and give Cronulla the lead for the first time in this trial.
They look a little bit fitter, the Sharkies. I know it's only early days in this third quarter, but they're full of running. They've got players in motion, players running at the line, whereas the Saints are a little bit one out. The Sharks hit the front.
I was interested to read Paul Crawley's story today with John Morris about the pressure that he has faced in his 2 years as an NRL coach. Despite making the finals both seasons, it seems that he has walked hand in hand with pressure every week, or speculation about his future. And today he just answered it point blank. My job is to get them as fit as I possibly can and play as best as we can. The rest will look after itself. Well, fitness-wise, Blocker, as you've identified, some good signs for Cronulla, giving St George Illawarra the start, but so far staying with them and now taking the lead themselves. A high kick-off, and Hazelton will bring them back. Just because of their salary cap situation and a number of high-profile players on big contracts, there's not a lot of wiggle room for John Morris at the moment, but there will be over the next 18 months as millions of dollars of salary cap space open up.
Just wonder if he hears the white noise. I mean, you can only do what you can do. Like, if you're confident in what you're doing, and he couldn't do any better than what he's done with the team that he's had. So I think he's done a great job, Morris.
Their ins in the off-season, Aidan Tolman from the Dogs, Jack Martin from Brisbane, and Luke Metcalf, the fullback in this game that's impressed us, coming back from Manly where he went from Cronulla. So play will be stopped here to treat a St George Illawarra player.
I just saw that young fella go down too. There's no one around there. Like he'd been sniped.
And they're the ones you worry about, be it knee or ankle.
Just trying to pick up his number at the moment. It's a classic Achilles, I reckon.
Well, let's hope not. First trial of the year, no one around you. You go down and you have to be assisted from the field. It looks like Achilles. maybe calf, but
I don't know if you can put any weight on it by the look of it. Be filthy after training all summer. Get hurt in the first trial like that.
A day to forget for St George
you come back
Illawarra,
from
perhaps.
those things. Everyone at some stage in their career has got to find a way back, so we wish the young fella all the best.
Eddie Blacker to play the ball. And now Amone again. Jaden Sullivan, and his pass juggled by St George Illawarra. It was put down almost by Blake Dowell. In fact, he's been ruled to have dropped the ball. So Tarek Sims, his 12 jersey goes over to Blake Dowell now, one of those 8 members of that successful 2019 Illawarra SG ball team.
He did his best too to try and get it, recapture the ball in the air, but what happens, he knocked on in front. Into Josh Carr there that time, so proper ruling. Again, another error from the Saints.
Phil
The
Henderson taking over as the on-field referee, moving in from the touchline. And he deemed that the ball was lost into a defender before control had been regained from Blake Dowell.
It's a good move here. They've just got in front. Pele's just gone back onto the field, the big front rower. So here he is winding up.
He caused some problems early in the first half. Franklin Pele, nearly 2 metres tall, 130 kgs, give or take 10. Given he stripped off that number during the Christmas break. More opportunity for Gabe Hamlin. Somersaulting his way forward. Expected to start the season with the Jets, but giving John Morris some food for thought. The inside ball was meant for Metcalf. It almost worked. The ball was knocked free, I think.
There was good awareness there by the Saints just to close that door straight away as the quicker fullback was coming through in Metcalf. Saints get the football back again.
Sitiveni Mothendreki out there in number 5, taking over from Sean Sawney Esau, and showing us a bit of class with that run earlier in the set, but now there's a mistake. It's Max Feagai.
It's amazing with the new rule too. I've only seen 1-6 again, one restart.
This is Hamlin.
Some powerful running.
In the end, Jaden Sullivan was grabbing hold of an ankle and said you can't run with one leg.
See, that's a double tackle. That should have been a 6 again for the Sharks.
We'll see a lot of them in 2021.
It's going to be interesting to watch the score lines too. If teams can control the footy with the new rules in now, it's going to be even quicker.
Possession will be gold, and there's going to be some teams who get on a roll and just can't be stopped. Trindle for Pele. Franklin Pele. Played with some stars in that 2018 Aussie schoolboy team. Spread around the league now. Caleb Milne rocked as he is greeted defensively by Feagai.
Hurt him too.
Hazelton involved again. So the lights taking effect at PointsBet Stadium. Milne.
He's got to be a player, that Hazelton. If they can put a bit more size on him, he's even hard to handle now. Big tall fella.
Raw, isn't he? As Trindle stumbles, throws the ball out the back. It's gathered and play on for the Sharks. The kick, the chase, it's on. Back there trying to clean up. Mothendreki did enough. But plenty of questions asked by Cade Dykes in jumper 17 for Cronulla.
Just keeps you on the toes, doesn't it? The back three have got to be so good. The little grubber kick in behind. A lot of players are wonderfully skilled now. Not afraid, these young fellas, to put those sort of kicks in.
So Dykes playing in that fullback role with Metcalf shifting to the front line. The goal line drop out down to Metcalf, who traps it with his foot and says, Pele, get behind me.
Yeah, big fella. Away you go. Again.
We can't pass forward in the game that is famous for a Pele. So Franklin, get behind me. A little bit messy. They handle it. They hold on to possession. And now it's Wilton going forward. Trindle. Hazelton again inside the 10. Good tackle by Wishart. He takes the legs. Trindle, the big step. No way through. Cronulla by 4. Nearing the drinks break in this second half. Patterson, Metcalf, Pele. Given plenty of encouragement at training by Andrew Fafita, Franklin Pele. Now Trindle, quick hands, beautiful hands. They create numbers. Over they go. Mawene Heroti goes in. He appeared in a couple of NRL games last year. 7 through his career. Mawene Heroti, the New Zealander, over to extend the Sharks' lead.
Well, I'll tell you what I did like about that run there from Heroti. He backed himself. Again, we see Metcalf involved. The cut-out pass, the second man, in two minds too there at the back, the Saints, and backed himself to run the footy to score. Heroti goes over, back-to-back tries to the Sharks. They've done enormously well in this game. They were on the back foot in that first half. Got themselves in front. Now they've gone back-to-back, and they look like they're in control.
A couple of years at South Sydney as part of the NRL setup, now in his second at Cronulla. Heroti, one game last year, a tough game against St George Illawarra, where he had a case of the dropsies, but he returned in the centres and returned impressively. He's actually being looked at as cover for Josh Dugan, depending how Josh recovers from a neck injury that he suffered last week.
It's so important defensively too to come up and all be on the same page. We saw one of the St George Illawarra players sprint out of the line, puts all sorts of pressure on your outside men, and Heroti decides to run the ball himself to score.
Braden Trindle from the sideline again, straight and sweet. The lead out to 10, 32-22. Cronulla, time for drinks. Warm afternoon in the Shire.
Been a good battle of the halves, hasn't it? They've been both teams' best players for the Sharks in Trindle. Sullivan for the Dragons, but the Dragons far too many errors. I reckon, I haven't got the stats here, but I reckon they've made twice the amount of errors that the Sharks have coming off their own line, and just inviting the opposition to attack. That football, it's gold. They haven't been able to do it. 32-22.
Let's talk about the Sharks. John Morris, the head coach heading into 2021. Darren Mooney back as their general manager of football. Oaksy's there again. He's been a mainstay, but assisting John Morris. Dave Howlett stepping up. Josh Hannay leaving North Queensland. Paul Gallen and Luke Lewis. Now Gallen's been involved before, but Luke Lewis getting involved. There's some experience there in 300 gamers, all of them. Morris, Gallen, Lewis.
It'd be great to have around the club, those two guys. Obviously know what it's all about, and I reckon there'd be a lot of young blokes out in this Sharks outfit that are playing tonight that would have been listened to a lot of advice from those guys. And I think Luke Lewis and also Paul Gallen, they don't just talk for the sake of talking. I think they'd have some good advice.
And no doubt inspiring the likes of these Cronulla players is the story of CSC Vitalakai, who was a train and trial player at the start of last season, but come their Monty Porter medal night, he was the Players' Player of the Year.
Yeah, how comes that?
After a wonderful season.
Well, that's a belief thing, isn't it, Matt? You know, like hopefully he can kick on now and have a good second season. But the Sharks, as I mentioned, they're full of run, aren't they? They've really impressed me after being behind on the scoreboard by 12 points in that first quarter. They've done well to come back. Showed plenty of ticker.
And that's what Morris will want from his players as the season unfolds. Jack Martin with a run. Nice to get on the field with your team out by 10. The conditions cooling from the 32 degrees at kickoff. It's still muggy. It's the first trial of the new season. Again, an eye-catching run. Gabe Hamlin. and getting the penalty, fighting to play the ball quickly.
Yeah, I like that. Just fighting in the play the ball. It just gives the next runner.
Back from Wigan and ready to rumble, Gabe Hamlin.
He's run the ball well, haven't they? Their forwards have started to get on top of Saints, haven't they? They've had a lot more ball, the Sharkies, but haven't made the same sort of error. They're full of running. It's amazing when you get in front of the scoreboard by 10. You start to aim up.
And Saturday the 27th, we get a host of footy coming your way on KO. Trials involving the Raiders, the Roosters, the Sharks, the Dogs, the Eels, the Panthers, into the Charity Shield blocker with you bound for Mudgee, St George Illawarra, South Sydney. The trials heating up as a long ball from Metcalf. Beautiful work out to the wing, and Iro goes in for his second.
They can play Metcalf. Be interesting to see as he goes up the grades or gets into that first grade eventually. Just hanging onto his foot at the moment. Looks like he got stomped on the foot. He'll play on, but got great vision. You won't get that sort of opportunity when you're playing the big boys. Passive defence again from the Saints. Haven't come off their line. Got done for numbers. Sums it up beautifully. He knew straight away it was going to be a try.
And Metcalf playing a role that he displayed in the first half as well when setting up Nene McDonald. Vision, a long ball, perfectly placed, and Iro says thank you very much, looking everything a finishing winger.
Well, they've been good, haven't they? Nene McDonald on the other side, and Iro on the left-hand side. They've scored well. As I said, gee, they look full of running. They're pretty fit. They've had a lot of football now. And they're streaking away, aren't they? The Sharkies.
3 unanswered tries in the second half. Having trailed 12-0. They finished the first 44 tries each with the Dragons, but down by 2 since the resumption. Trindle, Halrotti, and now Kale Iro in for the second of the game in terms of his performance. Trindle, other sideline, drives it low and long and wide of the mark, 36-22. I'm looking forward to having a bit more of a look at Cade Dykes in jumper 17 for Cronulla. Famous surname, Dad Adam. 10 seasons at Cronulla, 183 games for the Sharks, throw in 38 for Parramatta, and it's a 221 game first grade career. The Dally M 5/8 of the year in 2001. Well, son Cade looking like Dad out there and having some nice touches so far. Some high contacts on Jack Martin as he returns the kickoff. Play that to continue. Here's Dykes trailing on the inside of Josh Carr. Patterson goes it alone out of dummy half, shrugs clear of one, but not a second.
Poor old Saints haven't had any ball, have they?
Which is something we're going to see in 2021 again after the changes of 2020. Nene McDonald. They swarm around Nene. He has 2 tries. Patterson into dummy half. They're still their own side of halfway by 18 metres. This man Hamlin, a handful.
Got a good quick play the ball too.
Every time.
Yeah. Won a penalty only a couple of minutes ago.
Ryan Rivet with a kick. It floats down for Mothendreki, the Fijian international, to come back at them.
Boys, after your first game, you pull up nice and sore tomorrow, I'd say. Recovery so important now in the NRL.
Well, plenty of these Dragons will be in action again on Thursday night at Jubilee. You'll see that on KO and NRL.com.
I wonder if they'll have a sprinkling even more so of first graders, you think? Or it's that 12 game...
They've got to follow those rules whereby the regular first graders only get 1 trial. And that, I imagine, would be the Charity Shield for most of the established Dragons. Here they are on the last. Wishart goes out for his halfback. Zeke Foster in that position for the time being. Cronulla didn't get a play at the ball. And now penalty to Cronulla.
What are they saying? They're
offside.
It's a relieving one too. Nothing's gone their way here.
in front of the kicker and then inside the 10 as the ball was contested. So they can't get into the game at the moment, St George Illawarra.
It's funny that, like the real good sides, like, well, the Melbourne Storm starved a lot of teams of possession last year, didn't they? Once they got the football, they just rolled down. They got that ability to tick over the scoreboard. So, as we mentioned a couple of times, the ball is gold.
This is Carr running off Ryan Rivet. Here's Rivet. A Gold Coast product, actually living with the Sharks media manager, Rob Willis, at the moment. So he'll be a polished media performer in no time, Ryan Rivet. Hamlin again. Actually, it's Jack Martin playing the ball. Rivet for Trindle. And St George Illawarra forced the turnover, or the changeover.
Well, he was the man to have his hands on the ball the last tackle. Trindle has played so well in this game, just couldn't get to the kick. The Saints, for the first time in an age, have got the football.
Mothindreki for St George Illawarra. 14 minutes to play. They have possession. Now they need to build some momentum and build their way back into the contest. The second half has seen Cronulla dominate. Recapping the news of the day, Cam McInnes gone for the season with an ACL injury. The All-Stars teams expected to be significantly changed by a Melbourne COVID lockdown, and Isaiah Yeo given a 3-year contract extension at the Panthers, the co-captain this year with Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, it's good. They're starting to sign a few players now. They've got a fair bit of experience gone from that young Penrith Panthers side, and James Tarmo. Good to see him. Isaiah Yeo was probably near enough their best player last year.
What a season.
He was great.
Playing his way
Played Origin
into the Blues team.
Yeah.
Last tackle here for St George Illawarra. The kick across the ground out towards Iro on the wing. A contest is knocked forward by St George Illawarra, I think, and that way Runciman is offside. But the Dragons get the penalty, so obviously referee Phil Henderson has seen it differently.
Now we'll see how they are, how much energy they've got left now, the Sharkies. First real opportunity that the Saints have had in this quarter. See how hard they get off their line and put some pressure on.
Yeah, it's Teague Wilton running obstruction. The inside ball for Mothindreki. Big tall winger.
I suppose what you want to see if you're coaching the first grade side and you're watching the lower grade blokes play is, can you solve any problems during the season? I reckon they would have learned a little bit from this game.
Here's Hayden Lomax, 5 metres out. Out of dummy half. Wisher trying to catch them unaware. And he's been held up.
Now that's a little bit of desperation there. I was just saying they haven't had the ball for an age. Just see how enthusiastic they were with their defence, the Sharks. They've held him out.
Tyron said, "How can I be held up when the ball's on the ground, sir?" He thought he'd scored.
A little bit of chalk on that ball there.
Here's Corrick, the try scorer already, goes through Tony Pello. And a mistake, another one from St George Illawarra.
Gee, I'd like to see that again. Rivet as this causes the knock on there, but the ball went backwards. He's complaining of the ref anyway. The Saints will get the footy back again. They're making hard work of it. It's gone back. Anyway.
Phil Henderson in position to see what he thinks is a little knock on from Rivet. Pello using his feet to set up the scrum. Teammates might not enjoy that too much. Zeke Foster, the half for St George Illawarra. And it's Connor Mulheisen, a dummy half in this instance. Mulheisen for Foster. Now Pello. charge, and it's well handled by Cronulla's goal line defence. Long put down by Pello, picked up by Mothendreki, couldn't wind up though. Grabbing hold of him, Kyle Pickering. And crawling their way forward, fighting for a quick play of the ball, Bailey Antrobus.
He goes again.
And now they'll get their try, their first of the second half.
Well, at first you don't succeed. That's Wishart that gets over.
I think they're playing tricks with us with the number 9.
There he is in dummy half again. Sharky players left on the ground. He'll try again and scores this time.
That's the other number 9, Connor Mulheisen. The Dragons making it tough for us blocker. Two number 9s.
They look alike, don't they?
They do. So 36-26, 10 the difference, 10 to play. But this kick might make it single figures.
Put themselves within range here. Let's see how much will they've got to win now, the Saints. They've got their try, the first one of the fourth quarter for them. Let's see what they can come up with now. Let's see how enthusiastic they are. You still, no matter when you're playing marbles or tiddlywinks or whatever, you still want to win.
Sidaveni Mothendreki nailing the conversion. 36-28.
Big man too, mobile. Mothendreki just cruises back. Wouldn't he like to be able to run like that?
With no tackling in the air at either end of the field now, the rules have been subtly adjusted. It makes these tall, athletic wingers just oh so valuable. St George Illawarra trying to build on that try. Luke Chalker, 24 today. Happy birthday, Luke.
It'll be 24 again.
Only a few years ago for you, blocker. Plenty of tries as you'd expect in a trial. 8 in the first half, 4 so far in the second. And this is the latest try scorer, Connor Mulheisen at dummy half. Going to his right and the kick almost out on the full. In the end, well weighted. And they'll hand it to Cronulla, 25 metres out from their own line.
You know what they've done too? They've done it well. And that kick is a perfect example of it. Nearly went out on the full. It didn't, but just the pressure from the little things that, you know, go unnoticed. A little chase from marker, put pressure on the kicker. The Sharkies have done that a lot better than what Saints have today. Just those little 1%ers.
And play, restarting with the play the ball. So there's one of those new rules on show. Fine touch, no scrum, just straight to the opposition. They pick where they play the ball and away they go.
And away you go again. Not real good for the big boppers in the middle.
All the set restarts, fewer scrums. Get ready to run, Rugby League. Get ready to feel those lungs burn.
I just hope we don't turn the game into, 46-36 every week.
I think the players will look after that. I think they will lift and be even more athletic. We already marvel at their abilities physically. I think they'll lift, and
I hope you're right.
The game will go to even more attractive levels. Still time for the St George Illawarra in this one. 8 the difference. And they're on the attack, 15 metres into Cronulla territory. The Sharks enjoying being back at PointsBet Stadium or Shark Park. They'll take the premiership games on the road for another year and be back here on schedule to start 2022. Down the short side. Foster couldn't get away. And now the kick across the ground. It will come down. Well weighted indeed. Dropped at the back by the Cronulla Sharks and now unable to get over. The Dragons with a golden opportunity to score there.
I reckon the Sharkies coach will be happy about that little scramble. It would have been easier to give up on that play as the ball was knocked forward by one of the Sharks players. Scooped up. But look at the desperation here in defence. They're the sort of things you're looking for. Easy to give up on a play like that.
A couple of number 5s out there for St George Illawarra. That was Sawney Esau, not Sidaveni Mothendreki. Foster finding Corrick. Opportunity here, beautiful ball again.
Call forward by the
forward.
touchy.
Phil Henderson getting the call, and the tip-off says no, Red V, come back here.
Well, they haven't been as passive outside. This time they just got caught flat-footed.
Ooh.
I reckon that ball's all right there.
It was Tony Bello. It looked good live.
I always look at the hands. Have a look at the hands going backwards with the pass. Anyway, they've called it up. There's a chance gone begging there for the Saints. Would have been interested if they scored that one. How much enthusiasm that would have brought. The Sharkies will get the football back now.
So Cronulla to work away from their own 20. Their first month, the Sharks in the NRL, as we've touched on. Game 1 against the Dragons at Cogra. Then they're playing Canberra at Cogra, and then Parramatta at Bankwest and North Queensland on the Sunshine Coast. So Dragons, Raiders, Eels, Cowboys. That's the first month for Cronulla of the 2021 Telstra Premiership.
I don't think
an
it matters.
Important month for John Morris and co.
I don't think it matters where you look now. It's always,
yeah.
She's always tough. I don't think you try and look too far ahead.
A couple at their part-time home and then a couple on the road, Western Sydney and Sunshine Coast for Cronulla. Here's Vasquez, started the game impressively, back on to finish it as well. He made his debut in the final round last season against Canberra.
Would have been a tough game, tough forward pack to make your debut against. Good on him. He did well too, if I can remember rightly.
It was a game where they had a host of debutants, Cronulla. Hazelton with a run, now the kick by the Sharks to complete, and it's down for Mothendreki.
They haven't made him move too much, Mothendreki, have they, with their kicking game in this second half?
Just to balance it out, the first month for the Dragons. It goes Sharks into North Queensland, a trip to Townsville, then Manly in Wollongong and Newcastle at Newcastle.
You with me?
Sharks, Cowboys, Eagles, Knights.
I don't think it matters how you look at it, eh, Matty?
You're right.
She's tough. Hard way to make a living. What is it, 25, 26 rounds? What is it?
We've got back to the regular season in more ways than one. Let's hope we're not talking about bubbles and distancing and Zoom calls and
masks.
Can I keep going? But as we've seen today, it doesn't take much, does it? Doesn't take much.
A lot of people think I've still got mine on.
Here come the Sharks, past their 20. They've fought back in this game impressively. From 12-0 down and a little disorganised to 3 tries to 1 in the second half and a 36-28 win. There have been some performances that John Morris will no doubt be impressed with. Others he would have looked at and thought, I can work with that, I can build. And Mothendreki again. Will Sidaveni wind up, a skip in his run, he goes outside. And Feagai dragged towards the sideline. Here's Mothendreki again. Making the most of his 40 minutes or so in this game.
Looks like a handful too, doesn't he? You know, they tried to put a shot on him then, just bounced through it.
Spent some time down south in Melbourne. Happy to get out of that state in time. Because plenty of the Storm's All-Stars players we hear won't. The All-Stars game coming your way on Fox League next weekend.
Yeah, what Cameron Smith's doing yet?
Enjoying life on the Gold Coast.
Can you make a decision, please? It's like days of our lives.
What do you think of the speculation that he's going to parachute into the Titans mid-year and therefore fit in the salary cap by only playing 2/3 of the year?
Well, I've heard a lot that he will play, so if it was with the Titans.
You don't have to look too far for a storyline in rugby league, Stephen,
No.
and you never have.
No.
So Cronulla,
Well,
3.5 left.
The thing is with Cameron Smith, he can still play. So that's the thing you got to look at. Most blokes who retire because of injury or they've had enough.
And he probably wouldn't need a lot to get ready to play in comparison with others. Here's Kyle Pickering playing the ball, charging onto it again. Gabe Hamlin, who you must say has been one of the eye catchers in this one. Even the timekeeper's a little rusty here because the full-time siren goes off, but we've got 3 minutes to play. I think that's a problem.
Well, happy hour might have been starting down at Northies or something for the timekeeper.
Well, maybe the timekeeper thought the Dragons were going to come late and hard, and he said, no, we better stop here. There's a cold one waiting for me across the road at the Sharks Leagues Club, because after, let's call it 77 minutes, it's Cronulla 36 beating St George Illawarra 28 in the first trial of the new season.